Hi, today we are talking about hormones and hysterectomies. And I want to ask the question of if your all of your hormone symptoms magically go away if you have a hysterectomy. I see and talk to a lot of women on the hormone side of things that are wondering, gosh, I have been told I need a hysterectomy because I have X, Y, and Z type of hormonal problem. If I have this hysterectomy, will all my problems go away? Or another scenario is someone comes in and they say, I had a hysterectomy because I was told it would help with these things. And I had that, but now there's a lot more problems that weren't solved by that. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about some of the reasons that women have hysterectomies in the first place. I think the most common is irregular or heavy menstrual bleeding. So there's a couple of conditions, uterine fibroids, endometriosis. Those are things you may be diagnosed with if you're told you need a hysterectomy. And it's, usually the first thing that happens is someone goes to their doctor and they get referred to an OB, and they, um, they go visit the OB and they have some kind of exam done, and they rule out some of the scary things like, there's no tumors, there's no, you don't have cancer, things like that. And then they are offered something like a birth control pill, which takes away a normal cycle and gives someone like basically a fake cycle. It just controls their hormones. And instead of having a real menstrual cycle, they have like a withdrawal bleed when they take those sugar pills the last week. Or if they skip those pills or are on a certain type of that birth control pill, they don't have a cycle at all. But what's happening is that they're not solving a problem with that solution. What they're doing is they're just taking away the heavy bleeding and all of that, and introducing hormones to alter to the cycle. And that usually will continue until a woman is right around the age of 40. And once they hit 40, they go, the risk of giving someone birth control pills after 40 is great. So now we switch to something like hormone replacement therapy, and we try that. And when that doesn't work, then we go, okay, we'll just go ahead and remove the uterus, possibly the ovaries too. That solves the problem. You don't have any weird irregular bleeding when the uterus is gone. And while that does solve some problems in terms of you can't hemorrhage blood every month if you don't have the uterus to do that. But what we didn't do is we didn't figure out why those things are happening, and come in and actually offer a real solution. The thing that disturbs me the most about this particular situation that I just described is that in most cases, a woman bleeds irregularly and heavily because she has a situation where estrogen is dominant. And maybe that's actually having high levels of estrogen. Maybe it's relative to progesterone. Estrogen is normal, but progesterone is really low. And there are some age groups where those scenarios are more common. So I look at that with women, and I think that that's why it's a good thing to actually have your hormones tested. I'm so floored by women that are having they're struggling with all these hormonal issues, and I say, has anybody ever tested your hormones and talked about them with you, and had a really good conversation and asked questions and tried to help you figure out what's going on? Most of the time it's no. Or they ran some really basic things in a way that is not looking at the hormones functionally. So there's those types of issues, and that's what I help women do. But say estrogen is elevated, and that's what's causing all of this stuff. Guess what is in hormone hormone driven birth control pills and hormone replacement therapy? In most cases, estrogen. So you have taken someone who already has high levels of estrogen, and now you're gonna give them more. So the very solution that you're offering could put them at risk for some pretty nasty stuff later, like estrogen driven cancers, breast cancer, ovarian, those types of things. So I think it really makes sense to unpack that with someone to figure out what's going on. Not only that, a lot of times hormonal problems are actually coming from somewhere else. That's what this idea of root cause or functional medicine looks at and says, okay, these are the symptoms someone is experiencing. Why are they having them? In the case of hormonal conditions that lead to things like hysterectomies, one of the things that can be happening is the liver can be inefficient at clearing out hormone metabolites. So as your body is utilizing and breaking down these hormones, you're not clearing them. So they're building up and backing up, and their impact is magnified. So that's actually a super common thing too. There's a couple of conditions that play into that. But okay, so fast forward, the birth control pill didn't solve the problem, or you felt horrible taking it. That happens quite a bit. So you didn't like the solution. Then they say, okay, maybe we'll just do a hysterectomy. And especially this gets sold to women when they're a little bit older, they've had some children, and they just go, well, you don't really need that. And you know, I think it's really important to keep all of the body parts that God gave us when we were born to the extent possible. So I don't love that. And, there's a whole bunch of other things that happen once you have things removed. But, so, but what about young women? What about the 22-year-old or the 30-year-old woman who hasn't yet started her family and wants desperately to start a family and is told, well, we're just going to have to take out your uterus. I'm sorry that you're bleeding so heavily every month, that you're miserable. And, that just breaks my heart. So I think a far better approach, again, is to come in and ask why you would need that hysterectomy in the first place, and is there any other alternative to that? Because here's what happens. In addition to not really solving the problem, you still have all of the underlying root cause things going on if you remove the uterus. But then now, especially if the ovaries are removed, you don't produce the hormones that you need. And then these are the women that come to me and they say, gosh, I was having really painful cycles. They did a hysterectomy, but now I'm even more miserable because I've gained 30 pounds. I can't figure out what's going on. I'm having hot flashes. Vaginal dryness is an issue. Intimacy is not working anymore because of this. And there's a lot of things that can really play into this. And it just wasn't everything they thought it would be. And so, and maybe some of them have been offered hormone replacement therapy for a short period of time after the hysterectomy, but then because they're using traditional hormone replacement therapy, which is synthetic hormones, the risk profile on those with breast cancer is much higher than doing some natural things and bioidenticals and things like that. So they leave these women on these solutions for a few years, and then all of a sudden they pull the plug, and that's when they really start, they're hot flashing, they're gaining weight, and all of this stuff. So I have a lot of conversations with women about that too. So anyway, I just wanted to present another option. Maybe you have already had a hysterectomy and you're like, gosh, I want to talk to someone about what do I do now? How do I maybe go back and look at some of those things that were never addressed to see if I can make these things better? Maybe some of these issues I had weren't actually coming from me having a uterus, but they're blood sugar issues or adrenal issues or other things that maybe were missed because someone was so concerned with just treating a symptom of heavy bleeding, and they weren't looking at your liver clearance, and they weren't looking at adrenal health and those things. So, or maybe you've been told like, hey, we'll try the birth control pill. If that doesn't work, just so you know, this is where we're heading. I want to be a different voice, because if there's one person listening here that doesn't want to have a hysterectomy and can do something and not have to do that so that they can go on to maybe have a child or whatever they want to do, then this video is worth it. So share this with your friends, comment, like it, do whatever. You ask a question if you have one. And if you want to reach out and have a what's called a discovery call, where I give you a phone call, we talk through this, you tell me what's going on, that's in the link bio in the description. I'm happy to do that. That's what I do with women, and I just want to help because I think there are better ways to handle some of these things. So thanks for watching.